Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to this class. Very good evening to all of you who are joining today. I really look forward to talking to all of you and teaching all of you. So I am Sanya, one of the senior trainers at Khaira Education, and I look forward to taking your class about the module of reading, and particularly reading part B. We are going to discuss a lot of question types that can come in the exam. So I am from Khaira Education, and Khaira Education is a premium provider of OET, and we have prepared a lot of students over the past 4-5 years, and they have successfully cleared the exam and have gone on to live their dream of going abroad. So we take all sort of classes. We have offline classes in Mohali, Delhi, and Amritsar, and we also offer online classes. And we have students joining in from all corners of the world in our regular classes. So yes, good evening, everyone. I can see how all of you are wishing me a very good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending on wherever you are. And I would love to know from all of you which country you are from and what is your profession. Are you a nurse? Are you a doctor? Are you a pharmacist, physiotherapist, dentist? So please go ahead and tell me. I look forward to knowing where the students who are joining me from all over the world are from. So please go ahead. And okay, so Aviana says she's watching from the Philippines. Hi, a big hello to you, Aviana. Kelly is from Zambia. I think I know you. You're one of my students. Kiran from Pakistan. A big hello to you. And Bloke also says that he's from Pakistan and he's a doctor, a nurse from Switzerland, Swaziland, yes, Philippines. And Harriet says she's a nurse from Zambia. Great. Welcome to all of you. Okay, I can see a lot of professions and countries coming in. Right. Kiran, hi to you. You're a medical doctor in South America. All right. And could you all also tell me if you're appearing for OET for the first time, or would you be attempting it again, which is absolutely okay? Or if you have already cleared OET and you just can't get enough of the classes, so here you are again. I relate to you. I've been teaching OET for 3 years, but I just can't get enough. So that's okay as well. So yes, please tell me if this is going to be your first attempt. Are you just getting used to OET as an English test? So what is the situation right now? All right. Some of you say that it's the second time, first time. Okay. Mega says it's the first time. Preparing for the first time, attempting again. All right. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's your first time, third time. So everyone is warmly welcomed in today's class. And once again, as I said, I'm Sanya. I'm from Khaira Education, and we offer a variety of courses for students across all disciplines of healthcare sector. And we have 3 offline centers in Mohali, Delhi, and Amritsar, but we also offer courses online. So you can join in the same classes, but online. And we welcome everyone from all parts of the world. And here you can also see some details about Khaira Education. So if you want to reach out to us about joining in the offline or online mode, so you can reach out to us on one of these platforms. So here's the Instagram, Facebook ID, and some phone numbers are given as well. Right now, if you just want to attend the class, that's absolutely okay. You could probably take a screenshot of this and reach out to us later. Right. Okay, I can see that a lot of you. Okay, so someone says that they have a problem in reading. I understand many students do face difficulty because of the language. There could be many things. Yes. Okay, some of you have your exam tomorrow. So first of all the very best. And I sincerely hope that whatever strategies we discussed today, that you're able to use them in the exam and score well. So all the very best to all of you. All right, with that thought, I think let's start today's class, and I look forward to your active participation. So yes, please pay your full attention now, and let's begin. So today's class is going to be about reading part B. So just as I just read that there are a lot of people who are attempting for the first time, so I was thinking that maybe we could discuss about the format of reading part B once. So let's discuss the breakdown. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about the format. Please feel free to immediately type the answers in the chat. So can you all quickly tell me how many questions are there in reading part B? All right. So yes, a lot of you have texted 6 very quickly. So great. Yes, you're right. All right. So my next question is, what type of texts are there in part B that you can see? You could give me some examples, or if you want to use an umbrella term that all of them fall under, you can tell me that as well. I can see a lot of you are still texting about the previous question. That's great. You could type in some of the examples. That's okay. Somebody said 6 difficult questions. Well, yes, reading part B can be a little tough. All right. So many of you are saying memo, email. Okay. Work related, Jesse, that's a good one, because yes, they're going to be, some of them are going to be work related. Actually, all of them are, depending on the type. Policies, emails, guidelines, yes. Manuals, that can be there as well, yes. Amit, you have written about just main idea. Well, those are the skills. So yes, I think a lot of you guessed it right. So the type of text that you can get in reading part B are policies, guidelines. They could even be protocols, memos, notices, emails, manuals, etc. So OET is very practical, right? So what they're trying to test is that when you go abroad and you're working in the countries that primarily are English-speaking countries, so they just want to test whether or not you could, understand the emails, guidelines, protocols that are there in place. So be it English-speaking country or not, but then you should have a good command over the language. So that is why they use these kind of work-related extracts. All right, now the next question, it's supposed to be easy. How many answer options are there in each question? All right, I can see the answers coming in. All of you are saying 3. Yes, that's right. In part C, there are 4 answer options, but in part B, there are only 3. Now, my next question for all of you would be that, are the 6 texts related to each other? So you have 6 questions, 1 text pertaining each question. So would they be related to each other? You could give like a yes or no. You could say one or different. No. Okay. A lot of you are already saying no. Nah, you're saying. Yes, that is right. So all these 6 texts are not related to each other. They are independent of each other. Yes. Okay, then my last question for all of you, very important. How much time should we ideally spend on reading part B? You can see how enthusiastic you are. All right. One of the students said 15 minutes. Okay. 10 to 12 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't think even I am that skilled to do 6 questions in 3 minutes. 15 minutes, a lot of you are saying 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Okay, 12 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. All right. So you should be spending ideally about 10 minutes on part B, which is approximately like 90 seconds per question. But let me just tell you, like, there is no hard and fast rule about it. It's just because, as you know, part C is like more tricky. It's of the whole part B and C, there are 45 minutes, and part C would require, more detailed reading, and elimination can take time. That is why it is recommended that you try to finish part B in 10 minutes. Maximum you can take 12 minutes. But yes, I must say that we have to focus on accuracy. So even though I'm saying that 10 minutes is the time that you should be taking, but not at the cost of accuracy. So even if you take like 1 or 2 minutes extra, provided that you're just checking the accuracy, then it's absolutely okay. So let's settle at maximum 12 minutes, but ideal time would be 10 minutes. So if you're struggling with time management of part B, one strategy I would recommend is that perhaps you could set a timer of 1.5 minutes, and you could solve one question in that. So basically you're training your mind to solve the question quicker. So initially you could start with 2 minutes and then bring it down to 1 minute and 30 seconds. All right, so now that we have discussed about the different format of reading part B, now let's come to what today's class is about, which is to discuss about the 4 main question types in reading part B. So now what you're going to see very soon on my screen are going to be 2 columns. One of the columns contains the types of questions, and in the second column, you will see somewhat the explanations of those question types. Now, as you can guess, you have to match them to the correct explanation. So just use your understanding and match them. So here it is. So I think we can go through it one by one. I'll give you all some time to go through all of them. When you're ready, let's discuss just the first one. So which is purpose. What do you think out of A, B, and C, which explanation would carry out the best definition of purpose? So you could tell me A, B, C, or D for the first one, which is purpose. Okay, I see somebody say D. Harish, I think you're too excited about it. You've answered me 3 times. That is D. I love the enthusiasm. Okay, others are also saying D for purpose. Yes, that is correct. Understand why the text has been written. So purpose means reason. So for what reason has this text been written? That is what purpose is. So very good. I think all of you have selected correct. Sunil, you said F, but that's not an option. All right, let's look at the next one, which is overall message. Now let's move on to the second one. Out of A, B, and C now, which one do you think matches the definition? So D is gone. You have to choose from A, B, or C for the second one, which is overall message. Okay, a lot of you are saying C for that, understanding the gist of the text. Some of you are saying A, understand the most important point or main idea. Okay, well, yes, overall message and main point can be a little confusing, but today that's going to get clarified. So overall message would be C. I think a lot of you said that, and that's correct. Understanding the gist of the text. See, gist means what is it about overall? So you're not focusing on 1 or 2 points. So you are just focusing on the whole gist. Like suppose when this class ends and somebody asks you, what was the gist of the class? So probably in one line, you will say what the whole class was about. It's not the same as main point. Okay, let's come to the third one, which is main point. What do you think for the third one? All right, a lot of you are saying A. Yes, that is correct. Understand the most important point or main idea that is being conveyed in the text. So it is a little different than overall message. Main point means like if you are supposed reading the whole email, according to you, which is the most important information that they tried to give you, that would be the main point. Okay, so if I say, what is the point of the class? That would be different than gist. So gist would be, okay, that today we discussed about reading part B, but what would be the main point of the class for you to get the skills to the last one, which is detail. So yes, it is B. Recognize specific important information in the text. And don't worry, you might be a little confused about all of them and they might seem like they are overlapping a bit, but I'll show you a lot of question types which will clarify that for you. All right, so let's go ahead. But if any of you wants to take a screenshot at this point of time so that you remember it, please go ahead and do so. All right. Right. So before we directly go on to the questions, so there are some steps that I would like to discuss with you for answering all the questions of reading part B. Okay. So the first step that all of us have to remember is that we have to read the question first and then reframe it if needed. Many times the questions that you get are pretty straightforward. Like, for example, they might say, what is this email about? That is in itself a question with a very nice question mark in the end. But the reframing can be done particularly in the questions that are incomplete. So if they say that in case of an accident, and that's it, they give you 3 answer options. So what we can try to do, a very good strategy would be to reframe those questions and make it into proper questions so that you are able to understand better what this question is asking you to find. So for example, this is for all of you. Suppose this is the question stem that you see. According to the guidelines, an assessment should be offered if. So can you all try and frame it into a proper question? You can start the question by using any of the question words like when, who, something like that. How? Try to frame it into a proper question. Satish has said when the assessment should be offered. And Varis has said the same, when assessment should be done or offered. Yes. Okay. Others, you could also, when should an assessment be offered according to the guidelines? Okay. So not what, but when. Yes, I think a lot of you got it correctly. So if this is a question stem that you get in the exam, now just want to say that this first phrase, according to the guidelines, well, we can just ignore that. The main part of the question is an assessment should be offered if. That is our main focus. So that is why I'm putting it in gray. We don't really need to focus on that. Okay, so what are we focusing on? When, as a lot of you correctly said. And we could also say under what circumstances. So this when is not talking about the time, but under what circumstances should assessment be offered, as a lot of you correctly said. So please remember, this was the step 1 that you can do so that you understand the question better and so that you can directly locate the information better. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2 for everyone would be to read the answer options and underline the key ideas in each option. This is very, very important. So we are using the QAT strategy. So question, then answer, then text. And so how can we underline the key ideas? So see, I'm not calling them exactly keywords. That's a terminology I like to use in part A. Key ideas means that we are understanding the option and what it's telling me. So for example, suppose if these are the 3 answer options. So first one says unsteady on their feet, at risk in their home, visually impaired. So I can perhaps in the first one underline unsteady, feet, at risk, home, and then the last one is pretty simple, visually impaired. Please remember, part B is not about word matching. It is about understanding the meaning, which is why it is important that when we underline it, we remember these key ideas. You're going to carry these key ideas into the text and try to eliminate the options. And step 3, as I said, from the key ideas that you have highlighted in the text, in the answer options, now we are going to read the text. So these are the 3 steps that you need to follow in all the questions of part B. And now coming to the question types, we'll see how we can apply that. So as you remember, one of the question types that we just saw in the beginning was questions that require reading for detail, or what I like to call detailed questions. So what do they ask us to do? They ask us to recognize specific important information in the text. Please remember, these type of questions don't ask you what is the overall meaning or what is the main point. No, they will ask you something very, very specific. So what do you have to do to answer these kind of questions correctly? Read the question carefully, understand what it is asking you to find, and remember, reframing the question would be important. Then you have to underline the key ideas in the answer options, as we discussed already. And this is the most important thing. When you go to the text, identify the part that corresponds with the question. Many times, whatever information might be given in the text might match one of the answer options, but that's not what the question is asking. So then you might get the question wrong. Okay. So when you go to the text, remember what the question was asking, and that place that you could identify, you will find your answer from there. Let's see how that can be done. So remember QAT, question then answer then text. We all looked at the question already, and you had told me that the question was, when should assessment be offered? We also looked at the key ideas in the answer options. I'm giving all of you about 2 minutes to try to figure out where the option would be. But as I said, please remember what the question is asking. Question is asking us about assessment. So where do you think, so after reading the paragraph in your own time, please tell me, where can we see information about assessment being offered? So you could tell me what the line is starting from, or the number of the line. Yeah, please go ahead. Okay, Ashok says 6th line, so that should be if an abnormality. And Sakshi, you're also saying like 7, Deepa, 7th line. Yes, if an abnormality is identified, a multifactorial assessment should be offered. Now, what they're talking about, like this abnormality, so we will have to read the context a little bit to understand what that is. So primarily, our answer should lie in some of the lines before that, because it's talking about the abnormality. So all of you take some time and understand what those abnormalities are that require assessment to be offered. So I've given you some hint already. Go through these lines and try to choose an answer. A lot of you are saying A, but some of you are also saying C. Look at the lines that are underlined. I'm helping you in the first few questions. Many of you who are saying C, that comes later, if you notice. So after what I have underlined, then it says that this would check a variety of possible contributing factors, including loss of sight. I know it says that, but that will happen after assessment. Question is asking, when should you offer the assessment, not the result? That is why C will not be the answer. At risk in their home, so they didn't talk about it that much. So elderly patients should be routinely asked whether they have fallen in the past year, regardless of the context. They didn't particularly say home. About the frequency, context, characteristics of any such falls, and then those responding positively should be observed for balance and gait deficit. That's a very big hint. And then intervention to improve strength and balance. So yes, A would be the right answer. Unsteady on their feet. And the words that were telling us. So for example, they were talking about gait deficits. That has to do with balance. The word balance itself was written. Falling is written there. And then they're also talking about improving strength and balance. Yeah. Yes, so this is definitely a detailed question, because that is what the question was asking. An assessment should be offered if. So please remember what we did here. So I asked you to identify where are they talking about assessment. And then we looked at the context, that what is the context? Under what circumstances should they be offered that? Okay. Let's look at one more question like this. So it's a question stem, it's not a proper question. While reporting to the help desk. Now you can use your own knowledge. If a question is written like that, while reporting to help desk. So while means while you're doing it under the process. So how can we frame it into a question? Perhaps there is something to be done. So try reframing it into a proper question. So I think, Princess, I think you tried to say when you're reporting to help desk. Well, that is what the question is saying, while reporting to help desk. Perhaps you should be doing something. Try to think along those lines. Do what? Many of you said. What to do during reporting to the desk? What should be done while reporting? Yes, exactly. So what should be done while reporting to the help desk? I think one of you has written exactly this question. So yeah, as I said, use your own, knowledge about this, like while reporting. So perhaps there's something to be done. Now let's look at the answer options for this. Please have a look at the answer options and try to think what would be the key ideas that you would underline here in A, B, and C. Think about it. And also please understand the meaning of each of them. Like in A option, they're talking about department you belong to must be mentioned. So when you are going to choose an answer option, the whole answer option has to be correct. Department also should be mentioned, and that you have to tell them also has to be mentioned. For B option, point out that report is about fire safety. Both things should be mentioned, pointing out what the report is about and that it's about fire safety. Third, fire coordinators must be contacted. So these would be the keywords for this one. You can't tell me the answer yet because I haven't shown you the text. Hold your horses. I get that you're very excited. So please remember the question. What should be done while reporting to the help desk? Now, when I show you the extract, read it, skim through it, and try to see where this portion is mentioned. When I show you the text, the first thing I want all of you to tell me is where is this mentioned? You can again tell me the line number from the bottom, from the top, or how it's starting. Where is that information there? Okay, last two lines. Aman, you told me. Sanyukta, you're saying department in the fifth line, but then that's not what I asked. I asked you about the question. While reporting to the help desk, where is that mentioned? I'm asking. Eighth line, Avyana, you're asking. Yes, contact the help desk. If you see last, third, fourth line, that is where they're talking about it. Okay, so this would be the place of search. So I want all of you to have a look at these particular lines. So it's okay if you read the whole para, we need to do that, but particularly these lines, and based on them, try to find the answer. All right. A lot of you are saying B. So it says to report a fire safety fault, contact the help desk. And then it says it is essential that the help desk is told that it is a fire safety related fault. And then an example would be obstruction to fire exit. Yes, that is absolutely correct, everyone. Good job. I think all of you have said B. So some of you initially said A before I directed your attention to the question. So this is a pitfall to avoid in your exam. Okay. These are all detailed questions that I'm discussing at the moment, right? So whenever it's a detailed question, we can just see how specific the question is. That's how we can understand that. So in those cases, directly go to the part of the question, the text, which contains that topic, and then we can eliminate. The first one, department you belong to must be mentioned. Well, something is written about it, prerequisite for staff in certain departments, but mentioning it when you're reporting, not mentioned. Fire coordinators must be contacted. Well, that's not something you should do while reporting the help to the help desk. So that also is eliminated. Good job, everyone. Now let's look at another question. This is also a detailed question. So now look at it and try to reframe it. We can also omit some part when you're reframing it if you remember the example that I gave you initially. So think of the question words: when, how, what, which, who, maybe one of those you want to use. Mohammed Baris, I think you've still left it incomplete. I want you to make a proper question. So look at the second part. If the patient has, that's how it's ending. Okay, some of you are saying what? Yes. So if a patient has, I think they're talking about some possession, if you see that. So yes, we are not looking at the first part, the extract from guidance establishes that. That's very generic. My focus would be, and our focus should be on the second part. It should be carried out if a patient has something, right? So what should the patient have that will necessitate a personal search? Or if you just want to end with what? A personal search can be carried out if a patient has what exactly? Right? Now you see how this helps. So this is something all of you can practice in your own time when you're doing a lot of papers to prepare. So maybe the old papers that you've done, just look at the questions, do this activity of reframing them. Now, when you know it is what, like I have to find something that the patient might have, then only a search can be carried out. It becomes easier. So, and these would be the answer options. Please take some time and read them. Try to understand the key ideas over here, and then I will show you the text as well. All right, so these would be the key ideas that we can underline in the answer options. So a personal search can be carried out if a patient has what? So A option is criminal record. B, if a patient has self-harmed in the past, hidden a dangerous item before, okay? So let's now look at the text and then we can figure out what would be the answer. Now, again, I want all of you not to jump to answering the question. First, tell me where can this section be found? Question is about a personal search can be carried out if a patient has something. So tell me which lines are talking about it. Let's narrow down our area of search. That's how we save time. That's what time management is about. End of paragraph 1. Okay. Many of you are saying that. All right. End of paragraph 1. First 3 lines, we are required to provide an environment which is safe. This is not talking about it. Conducting a personal search is a delicate, potentially provocative procedure. They're not talking about what what should the patient have. No, it's not in the first few lines. Somebody said at the end of paragraph 1. Yes, that's right. A decision to carry out a search can be made if the following indicators apply. So basically, all of you have to read what is written in the rest of the text, the second part. And based on that, please focus a lot on the meaning here and then choose the right option. You all have a minute or so. All right, a lot of you are already saying C or A. So remember, focus on the meaning. So ask yourself, what is the meaning of a criminal record? It means that they have done something, some sort of offense they have done, and legally it would come in their record, right? So that is what a criminal record is. But unfortunately, we do not have that evidence over here. A lot of you are saying C. So here we see that a patient has a known history of carrying or concealing an item that is potential threat to their own health and safety of others. They have a recent history of that, right? So yes, C would be the right answer. Hidden a dangerous item before. Okay, so for the other things, it was not written. So they've self-harmed in the past. No, look at the lines that I've highlighted in the text. What is written? That they are a potential threat. It means they haven't done anything yet. It's a potential threat. Okay, so yes, C would be the right answer for this one. Self-harmed in the past, they haven't done that. Again, potential, what is the meaning of that? Possibility, they haven't done it yet. Okay, so they have an item that is a potential threat to their own health and safety or of others. They haven't done it, but it might happen. But the only thing they have done in the past is carried or concealed an item. That is why C would be the right answer. Okay, so that was the first type of question that I wanted to discuss, which was the questions that require reading for detail. Now, in the interest of time, I would like to move to the second one, which is questions that require reading for purpose. These are different than questions that require reading for detail, because here we are not focusing on a particular section like we were focusing earlier. Okay, so as we discussed already, so purpose means reason. What is the reason for the text or piece of communication being written? Why did they send that email to you? So we have to understand that. This is what the questions look like. Like you can see question number 1, the purpose of the memo is to, or the second one, the purpose of the email about so-and-so is to. So they mention this over there. Alternatively, they could write, why has this email been sent? So whenever you see a why, or they're asking for a reason, please understand it means purpose. What is the intention of sending that? The questions, if you see the second arrow, are not that specific. So you have to read the whole text for overall understanding. It's very important. Still, you have to follow QAT. Read the question, then the answer options, and then the text, and ensure that the answer you select matches what is written in the paragraph completely. There should not be any mismatch of the meaning. This is not part A. We are not going for word matching. Remember that. All right. So here is the question, which says the purpose of this memo is to. Now you see, reframing it will not be that big of a task. We can just reframe it to what is the purpose of this memo. So this is something that will make you feel the difference between detail and purpose questions. Here, there's not much to focus on. What is the purpose? Like, we just have to read the whole text and identify. But we will carry some ideas with us for that. So here are your 3 answer options for this question. Please try to see what would you underline here. What are the keywords that you would underline? And also remember, focus on the meaning. So like option A, report on the rise of misuse of prescription drugs, remind medical practitioners about a change, explain the background to a change. These would be the key ideas. So reporting, rise of misuse, drugs, remind practitioners about change in rules, explain background to change in patient care. Okay, now there is no section that I can ask you where is this mentioned, because you have to read the whole thing to understand. But please remember, purpose means the why. Why has this piece of communication been written? So with that in mind, try to read it, and then you can narrow down your answers and we'll discuss which one is correct. Please don't hurry, okay? I can see a lot of you are typing in your answers. Please take your time. Understand what is written in the text, then choose your answer. One of you is asking about the answer. I haven't told you the answer yet. I'm just giving you some time to figure it out. I'll give you all the explanations. All right, you all can start sending in your answers. There is one very important thing for you to notice, which is one connector, which is therefore. Therefore means for that reason. So if this is what therefore is mentioning, for that reason, something has happened. So that means the reason would be mentioned before that. Okay, so I know a lot of you use therefore in your writing, but you have to think about that even in reading. All right. C, a lot of you are saying, some of you are saying B, majority of you are saying C. All right. If we look at this, so first, what had they written? That there are more than 100 people who experience chronic pain, and the pain may be due to osteoarthritis, strained muscles, etc. They have given a lot of different things, including unknown causes. Although pain can be an important indicator of injury, chronic pain is burdensome and difficult to manage. One major problem in treating it lies in opioid pharmacological agents. And what are they saying? They are sometimes abused or diverted and have a ground. And the second paragraph is the change that is there. Yeah, I think I got stuck for a while, but now everything's fine. Yes, so A option, a lot of you who were choosing that, it was written report on a rise of misuse of prescription drugs. Well, rise means that it should be going from point A to point B. There should be like something going upwards, but we don't really see that. There's just one figure that there are more than 100 people who experience it. There is no such explanation about it. So it cannot be A. B, remind medical practitioners about a change in rules. Well, the rules are not changing, right? What are they saying? That new guidelines have come up. And what are they saying? They will focus on mitigating the risk with patient-centered approach to care. That is matching C again, change in patient care. So yes, C would be the right answer because it is saying explain the background to a change in patient care. So always be, careful of especially these connectors. they can give you the hint exactly where you can find the answer. And a lot of you who have chosen A or B, I would ask you to focus on the meaning a little more. A very clearly said rise of misuse, but we didn't have those figures. B, medical practitioners, it's not just about medical practitioners. And also change in rules is not there. It is about some change that has come for patient-centered approach. So like that. So that's why C would be the most appropriate answer for this. So yes, this was an example of how the purpose questions can come. So remember, the reason is what we have to figure out. And many of you are saying, okay, so that's good to see. It means that you all have understood. Now, I would like to come to the third type of question, which would be main idea or main point. So you might wonder, how is it different than purpose? Well, as I said, purpose is about reason, why the text was written. Main point or main idea. So if you see, it says you have to understand the most important, just a second, most important point or main idea that is being conveyed in the text. So that is what it's about. If you have the whole text, what is the main point that they are trying to convey through it? So we don't have to look for a reason as such. The questions are not specific, just like details. So you have to read the whole text for overall understanding. That is what it's about. And then remember, still you have to follow QAT. Now you have to ensure that your answer matches what is written in the paragraph and match the meaning, not the words. That's something I can see you need to work on, focusing on what the answers you gave last time. So main idea is about the most important information conveyed in the text. Now let's have a look at this question. It says what point is being made in this guideline about patients with multi-trauma. Take your time to read this question. So again, in this guideline, that is something we can ignore. So what point is made about patients with multi-trauma? That is something you can focus on. And if you see, since the answer options were a little long, so I've done some pre-underlining for all of you so that you understand it better. Take your time, read the answer options and the ideas that have been already underlined for you. Now, if you look at option A, it's talking about staff should make it a priority. So in your mind already, you should be thinking, what is a priority? And ruling out spinal injuries. Number 2, B option says spinal injuries are missed in small but growing number of cases. Again, 2 things this answer option is mentioning. Number 1, that injuries are missed. Number 2, again, they are seeing small but growing number. So just like the previous question, there has to be like that trend that is shown. And next, they're talking about evidence that immobilizing a patient is helpful. Okay, let's have a look. So here you have the text. All of you, please take about 2 minutes. Focus on understanding the meaning. I'm giving you plenty of time, and then choose the right answer. Some of you are asking how other students are sending the answers. Actually, they're sending the answers a little late for the previous questions because there is a network problem probably from their end. So please don't focus on that. Focus on the class and just you can answer whatever you think is correct based on your understanding. It's just a network thing. So I'll give you some help. These are the lines that correspond with the answer option that you might have chosen. So try to match the meaning. Okay, try to see whether these lines and the answer option, are they matching or not? All right, a lot of you are saying A. Okay, and some of you said B. So A option says staff should make it a priority to rule out spinal injuries. So yes, in the last few lines, we can say, therefore, patients in ICU should undergo a spinal evaluation. And this priority thing. So the ones who have chosen A, can you quickly tell me, how did you get a hint that it is a priority? I would like to know from you. Yes, very good. So you said 24 hours. Exactly. That is what tells us the sense of urgency, that it's a priority. Very good. The ones who are saying within 24 hours and then ruling out options. That's absolutely correct. So spinal evaluation should be done and interpretation by a consultant radiologist within 24 hours of injury. And if imaging is undertaken out of hours, it's acceptable to continue spinal precautions overnight and review imaging early the next day. Look at the sense of urgency that is being conveyed. Okay, A can be correct. If we look at B, spinal injuries are missed in small but growing number of cases. What was written was that amongst adult population suffering high energy multi-trauma, approximately 5% will have significant VCI and less than 1% suffer SCI. Where is the rising trend? Again, growing number of cases means that there has to be 2 points, one in the past, one in the present, and we should see a growing trend. It's missing, so we are not choosing that. C option, there is evidence that immobilizing a patient with spinal injuries is helpful. Well, we don't have that evidence actually. They said that there could be complications because of that. Look at what is highlighted in blue, balanced against this rare but potentially catastrophic. Catastrophic means devastating risk. Is the fact that majority of trauma patients do not have a VCI, and C, prolonged application of spinal precautions and immobilization is associated with complications, including pressure sores, etc. But that immobilizing is like helpful or not helpful, we don't have any evidence of that as such. So we can't say that that is the main point that is there. It's not about immobilizing, it's about ruling out. And yes, they should make it a priority to rule out spinal injuries. That absolutely is the right answer. And many of you have joined late. Yes, that's absolutely okay. This is a recorded lecture. It will stay with you. Right after I end the live stream, you're going to see it. So don't worry about that. Yes. Very good, Manju. You wrote that B and C. So something opposite is mentioned in that regard. Yes, you're right. And Farid, very good. You notice that therefore is there again. And then they're giving you some important detail after that. Well, yes, that's right. And Shriram, you're also saying that C is contradictory. Very good that you're giving appropriate reasoning. Let's look at one more. It says, what point do the guidelines make about leadership for doctors? Now, again, the focus would be not on the guidelines, but what point is made about leadership for doctors. Look at the keywords. Focus on the meaning, as I'm repeating again and again, it is very important. All right, so the first one said role of a doctor should go beyond practice medicine. So role of doctor beyond practicing medicine, sorry. Doctors, most important clinician. See harsh penalties for doctors who don't improve their skills. Now, one more thing I want to highlight for all of you, that sometimes you can use your own knowledge to see whether some options are logical or not. If you understand what I mean, we'll be seeing that further. So here you have the paragraphs as well. Again, please make sure that you're finding hard evidence for things. And after choosing an option, if you could just put a hyphen and write like which lines you're figuring it out from, that would be great. Yes, many of you are answering already. So you can probably tell me also which lines you're finding it from. Sixth line, Harriet says. Very good. Mhm. Yes, absolutely correct, Harriet. Good job. So being a good doctor means more than simply being a good clinician. In their day-to-day role, doctors can provide leadership to their colleagues and vision organization in which they work. However, unless doctors are willing to contribute to improving the quality of services and to speak up when things are wrong, patient care is likely to suffer. And second paragraph, Princess, you also said, so very good. Charles, you also said the sixth line, and so did Augusta. Very good. So yes, now we have to see like how can we eliminate. Now the first one, role of a doctor should go beyond practicing medicine. That is something we do see in the paragraph that all of you told me about. The option doctors are the most important clinician. Well, that is what I was saying, that I mean, in real time also, we can never make statements like this. I mean, because in healthcare, everybody has a different role. We can't say one is more important than the other. So sometimes you can think of eliminating answers. Well, yes, we do have to find evidence, but you can also think that could this be true in real case scenario? C option, there could be harsh penalties for doctors who don't improve their skills. Harsh penalties is a very strong word. If we look at the last few lines, that you must be prepared to explain and justify your decisions and actions. That's all that they're saying. So if you don't, like if you're not willing to contribute to improving, then it's a continuation of that you must be prepared to explain and justify your decisions. They didn't say anything about harsh penalties. So yes, very good. A would be the right answer. And somebody said, Farid, you said superlative degree. Yes, very good. Superlative like most or best. That's what it is. Comparative degrees, more than this, smarter than this, less than this. These things also help you eliminate faster. If there's any comparative degree, it means that should also be present in the text. So good that you noticed that. Okay, Brahmotri, you're saying C is matching to the paragraph 3. It's not. I just explained because they're saying harsh penalties. When you're explaining or justifying yourself, that is not a punishment. If I read the rest of the lines, that your right to practice medicine, so it will put your registration and right to practice at risk. Well, yes, they're saying that, but that is not harsh penalties. Harsh penalties would mean that you would never practice again, or that you will be fined like $10,000 or something. Those would be harsh penalties. Okay, so the the kind of language they're using is very strong. That is why C would not be the right answer. And yes, well, C is negative. Yes, that's right as well. All right, so coming to the last type of question, which was about gist and overall message, you will also see now the difference between main point and overall message. So some strategies are repetitive. First one that you have to remember is what these questions are. You have to understand the overall meaning of the text. That is what gist is about. Questions again are not specific. You have to read the whole text for overall understanding. You have to follow the QAT and ensure that the answer you select is matching the paragraph completely and focus on the meaning. So let's directly go to the question here. What is being described in this section of the memo? Now you see this question is not particular at all. Like if even if I try to figure out like what do I have to find, you will not be able to identify what do I have to find because it's about the overall meaning. What is being described? Let's look at the answer options. Try to read them, understand their meaning. All right. And here are the keywords. I hope like in your mind also you were looking at the same key ideas. Number one, how to organize system, basically. How ministry being reorganized. Structural changes introduced patient care. Here is the passage for all of you. Go for the meaning. I'm stressing on this again and again. So the meaning has to absolutely match. Okay, a lot of you are already choosing B as the answer. So if you are choosing B, could you perhaps tell me where you are choosing that from? Uh, Perhaps some identification, which lines? Is it in the first half, second half? Some indication if you could give me. Okay. All right. The struggle is between C and B. So let's first have a look at this portion. So it says, I want to be aware of some structural changes announced today. So that's our first 10 changes. And about what, that is the second thing we have to look at. That will clarify, simplify the lines of accountability, allow our organization to be more nimble and outcome focused by doing the following things: aligning acute emergency services, bringing together community mental health addiction services, ensuring end-to-end planning implementation for long-term care homes, capital work for system capacity planning. All of that is not related absolutely to one of the options that is written there. Combining programs and assistive devices. So yes, a lot of you had written B as the answer. That is correct. So it is being reorganized. How do we know that? Because it is written that I want you to be aware that structural changes, what are they going to do? They will allow the organization. So they have kind of reframed organization ministry kind of to be more nimble and outcome focused by aligning these services, etc. It cannot be C because the reason is that it cannot be about just patient care. When they're saying aligning services, so that is something which is about the organization itself, right? So, and A cannot be correct because it's not telling you any techniques how to do it, right? So that is why B would be the answer for this one. Yeah, and I think even before, yes, I believe there's great value in the ministry organizing itself. I think one of you said that, Triveni, I think that is. So yes, there is value in ministry organizing itself in a way that better reflects. And then what are the structural changes that are coming up? So yes, these are the changes within the ministry that are happening. That is why B would be correct. In C, it's the patient care that makes it very limited. Remember the question, what is being described? Overall, we have to focus on, not just one or two lines over here. All right, second question then. The extract from guidelines about searches informs us that. Now, this also we can quickly, change into a question, what does it inform us? And the guidelines about searches, we don't need to focus on that. But then what is the extract informing us? That's like an open question. So that's why it is a just question. All right, please take your time and read the answer options. Think of the key ideas you would be highlighting here. All right. So yes, here it says searches can only be carried out with patient's consent. So search is carried out with consent. Any dangerous items confiscated immediately. Main aim protect staff and patients, and then from harm. So now let's look at the passage. Take your time. As I said, don't rush in answering. Take your time, read the whole para, and then you can re-look at the answer options. A lot of you are already telling me from where we could look at it. Okay, fifth line again, some of you are saying. Okay, see, a lot of you are saying main aim is to protect both staff and patient from harm. Yeah, these lines, as safety of patients and staff of mental health services is paramount. Paramount means important. Patients should not have access to items that are in any way dangerous or which may lead to them harming themselves or others. So yes, they talked about safety of patients and staff of the services. And then they talked about searching a patient may be required to ensure this, since searches are intrusive. Now, I think one person asked me the meaning of intrusive. It means that it is kind of invading the privacy. That's what it means. It's like crossing some boundaries for some people. May impinge on a patient's right. Again, so that might be not okay to do. So it might be harming their rights. Every effort should be made to diffuse situation in which searches are made against patients' wishes. So A option, searches can only be carried out with patient's consent. Well, that defeats the purpose of searches also. Here they're saying that you should try your best that there aren't any situations in which you have to do it without the consent. So A is not correct. B, any items must be confiscated immediately. Confiscated means like take it away and keep it to yourself. That is the meaning of confiscation. But that also they didn't talk about. C, I think a lot of you are saying, and that is correct as the answer. Okay, Sarita, you are saying, could it be A? No, they're saying that it should, so they can only be carried out with patient's consent. Last 2-3 lines are telling you that you should try your best not to do it without obtaining consent. But then, yes, some searches can be carried out without consent. That is the point of, that is why they're saying it can be intrusive. So limit the amount of searches you might have to carry, but doesn't mean that you have to have their consent every time. So no, that's why it cannot be correct. So yes, C would be the right answer for this. Good job, everyone. And again, if you notice, here also, that is what the majority of the paragraph is describing. Okay, so that brings us to the end. I'm just going to repeat some things so that all of you can remember it before we sign off. The first type of question I talked about was detail question, that it requires reading for detail. So these ask you to recognize some specific important information in the text. And if you remember, we talked about reframing the question so that you make it easier for yourself by understanding what is it exactly that you have to find in the text. And then you have to read the question carefully, understand what it is asking you to find. Underlining the keywords is important. Key ideas is what I'm calling them. When you go to the text, go to the part that is corresponding with the question. Very, very, very important. So just remember, when we can all get a sense of it, that the question is very, very particular. When it's especially, just the question stem that is written, it's ending with if or when, under what circumstances, like the examples that we saw. The second type of questions were reading for purpose. So they ask us the reason why the piece of communication or text was written. And we looked at how now in these type of questions, actually in purpose, main idea, and just questions, we don't have to particularly find perhaps one section where the answer would be found. We have to read the whole paragraph to understand what could be the most important thing there. And here we have to read the whole thing to understand what is the reason that it was written. So for main idea or main point questions, if you remember, there were questions that we did. What is the main point about doctors and leadership? Something like that. You have to understand the most important point or idea that is being conveyed. And questions are not specific. You have to still follow QAT. Ensure that your answer matches what is written in the paragraph completely. There should be no mismatch of any answer options. And the last one, you have to understand the overall meaning of the text in a gist question. So as I was telling you in the beginning, suppose if I ask you, what was the gist of today's class? So you would say, well, it would be about understanding the skills better of reading part B. Then if I ask you, what would be the main point? So that would be to score better, to get a B grade in reading at least. And then if I ask you what is, so if I specifically ask you, like if it is a detailed question, then what should you do? Then you will give me a very specific answer. And then if I ask you what is the purpose of today's class, you will probably tell me that, well, it was so that we can enhance our skills. So therefore, the class was held for our betterment by OET and care education. So this is how you can understand the differences. So QAT, remember, in all the questions you have to do. And for the last time, I'm repeating, you have to focus on the meaning, not just word matching that you do in part A. Now, before signing off, there is one important tip that I want to give all of you, because I can see based on the questions that you're asking that there might be some language issues, like that you might not be able to understand the language. There are some aspects of grammar that you could focus on to get that better. So for example, understand different sentence structures like complex sentences, compound sentences, simple sentences. What is the difference? If I see some complex sentence structures, can I understand them or not? Look at conjunctions, connectors, linking words, linking phrases. Acquaint yourself more and more with that. When you work on your grammar, so gradually you will notice that, okay, I'm also getting better at understanding. And another key skill that you can try applying is of summarizing generally. Like when you read any articles, even if you're reading something on social media, after a paragraph, if you try summarizing, like what is the gist? Maybe what is the purpose? Can I quickly try to apply this here? So these are some ways in which in your regular daily lives, you could, brushen up the skills that are required for reading part B. And I hope that this was helpful. The video would be available for all of you. And shortly, we will share the PPT also with the students. So thank you once again. I'm Sanya from Care Education. I look forward to seeing all of you who decide to join in. And the details again are mentioned over here. If you want to take a screenshot, reach out to us on Instagram. Tell us if you like the session or not. And I can already see that a lot of messages are coming in from all of you. I also loved taking the class today. So thank you so much for tuning in. And one of us from Care Education will always be here to make your understanding grow. So thank you for tuning in. We will see you all again. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day ahead. Thank you. And all the best.